Attention, all curious minds, innovators, and trendsetters. It's time to pause, lean in, and get ready for an extraordinary journey as we dive deep into the fascinating realms of life, technology, entertainment, and business. Let's explore, learn, and grow together. Brace yourselves, for the next thrilling episodes of Hipther Talks is about to take off. Counting down from 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And here we go.
Hi everyone, Zoltan here. We're back again this week with Hipther Talks, and this time we're sticking to a very important topic. As a matter of fact, I think it's the most important topic for the past 2 years, 3 years. We are talking about cybersecurity and some tailored cybersecurity services. I have the pleasure of having Richard Bourne, CEO at Liverton Security. Hi, Richard. It's nice to have you here.
Delighted to be here.
All right. So we have this tradition here on Hipther Talks that everybody knows about, that we like to give the opportunity for our guests to say a few words about themselves before we get started with the episode. So, Richard, could you tell us something about your background? What led you to cybersecurity?
Thank you. Okay, yeah, my name is Richard Bourne. I'm based in New Zealand. I have a business called Liverton Security, and I'm particularly passionate about helping people stay cyber safe on the internet. We have a bunch of tools which we've built over the years, and really the idea is just to help people stay safer on the internet. All right,
That's all we needed to hear, because this is the most important thing nowadays. So, so many companies assume that if a cybersecurity solution works for their competitors, it will work for them as well. So why is this a dangerous assumption?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, every business faces different risks depending on the type of business they're in. If you're holding patent information or payment details, then you're going to be a much bigger target to an organization that doesn't. If you've got different architectures, the way you've structured your business, if you've got different risk profiles, different risk appetites, they will all have an effect on the type of cybersecurity needs you have and how best to protect your environment.
All right. So basically, there's not one package that fits all.
Not at all.
All right. Because we've seen a lot of problems happening during the pandemic when everybody shifted to working from home, and they've been using their own Wi-Fi to connect to the server. And this led to several hacks in the organizations. I think this is still going on nowadays. So can you share some real-world example of a company that faced security issues because they took the one-size-fits-all approach, probably downloaded one of those popular cybersecurity antiviruses, or I don't know what?
There's been a number of examples where organizations have just taken off an off-the-shelf or a free version of some sort of protection software, whether it be antivirus or local firewall software, and they've had issues with it. As I've been looking through some potential examples, the one which I think is particularly fascinating, which is an interesting spin on security, and it's related to the use of credit card information. We've been doing some work with a prestigious hotel here in London, who, like everybody else, were getting emails from guests where the guest would say, "Hey, I want to come and stay in your hotel, and here's my credit card details," which was in the email, which we were astounded by. And so the standard approach was just to not accept the email, to delete the email, therefore lose the booking. And they weren't satisfied with doing that. And so we were able to put in a solution which just redacts the credit card in the email, but sends the email on into the organization. So they get the booking because clearly they want the booking. And we also advise the guest that we've got their email, we've got the booking, but we've taken the credit card out of the email. And that was just a way of tailoring their particular requirements to make sure that they didn't lose any bookings. So it's maybe a good example.
Wow, this is very interesting. In terms of hacking, I have an example because since we're working in the iGaming industry for a couple of years now, we heard many stories. And there was this story in Asia in a casino where some hackers got into their system using that small machine which is making the bubbles in the aquarium, which was connected to the Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi wasn't secure, so they got in through that. So these are some crazy stories.
Yeah, you will have heard of the situations where people have hacked into the printers in a network, and been able to therefore jump on across to other systems via an insecure printer connection. Yeah.
Yeah, so, but this example that you gave, people sending their credit card details on email, that's something new.
I was astounded when I found out, and it's fairly ripe. It happens a lot.
All right, so maybe there should be a crash course for people when they're going to the bank and opening an account and having a credit card. All right, so when evaluating cybersecurity tools, what are some of the key factors businesses should consider to ensure that they align with their unique threats or requirements?
Yeah, absolutely. The most important thing is understanding their business's presence on the internet. And if you're a retail store with maybe a brochureware type website, well, you've got a much different risk profile than an e-commerce business or somebody who's doing who's got a lot of information, and particularly if they're a multinational organization where they've got lots of points of presence into the internet, then that's a factor. As you think through some of the biggest risks, my view is by far the business risk to a business is the people in the business. The people are the organization's biggest asset and their biggest liability. And I think that where you see businesses who are only interested in how much money they can make and not focusing on looking after the people in their business, then they are far more likely to be knocked over because the people in the business aren't going to care as much about ensuring they're doing things the right way, using the right tools, not subject to being tricked by a spam campaign or whatever it might be. So that's probably the biggest challenge for businesses, to ensure that they look after their people so the people will look after their environment.
All right. So do you think that nowadays companies must have somebody focusing on cybersecurity?
Absolutely. In fact, we're seeing it more and more even at a board level. Businesses which don't have good representation at a board level, who understand the implications of security threats or cyber security threats, are, I think, far more likely to be knocked over. It's a complex environment. The attacks are getting particularly sophisticated now, especially with new AI technologies like ChatGPT, where the bad guys can make a very compelling looking email which looks right, spelled with the correct spelling and everything else. It's now much easier for them to target businesses, so that the business need to have a good understanding of the threats they're facing and having the right people in their organisation to stop them.
All right, I just wrote about this last week because we are hosting a conference in Prague, and we are accepting crypto for payment for tickets. And somebody approached us because they did not fill out our form to get the wallet ID, etc., that they want to do it quickly. We should send them the wallet ID, that they will pay for the ticket, ask for the currency rate. We sent them, and instantly the guy sends, because it was, I can disclose this, the price of the ticket was 489 USDT. And the guy sends me a screenshot that, oh, sorry, I just sent you too much. I sent 4,899 USDT. Can you refund it and I will make another payment? So I quickly check our wallet, and the guy sent us 4.89 USDTs. He edited the screenshot. So yeah, if you're not paying attention, then you can refund. And once I told the guy, okay, you just sent me the 4 USDTs, it vanished. So it deleted the message, everything. It just quickly vanished. It was a scam.
Well thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it.
Right.
They're very sophisticated in what they're trying to do, and if you aren't paying attention, then yeah, that's how you get knocked over. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So how should startups and multinationals approach cybersecurity differently?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't think there's necessarily a lot of difference in how they should approach. Their footprint will be different. A multinational has, as I said before, has multiple connection points into the internet, has a much bigger staff base, and so therefore they need to approach that much more holistically. But the same issues appear. You need to have good firewall technologies. If you've got internet presence, if you've got an email, which most people do, then having email filtering solutions are important. So that the key pieces, I think, are important. I guess there's a threat profile as well, where if you're a big multinational, then you're more of a more interesting target for the bad guys. Whereas if you're a small startup and you haven't sort of really got a presence yet, then they may not know about you quite so readily. But that doesn't take long. I've noticed that we've had situations where we'll stand up a server, and if we don't patch it properly within hours, it can be compromised. So you do, even if you're a small business, you still need to be paying attention to your cybersecurity presence.
All right. So as cyber threats are, of course, continuing to evolve, so how often should businesses reassess their security strategy?
Yeah. Okay. The strategy itself, I mean, that's something we do on an annual basis. We do a formal review of our strategy, but that's because we've got some very clear processes in place, which are we're doing daily scans of vulnerabilities for the software we've got and for the systems we're using, and we've got people who are dedicated to reviewing those. So providing a strategy is sensible, then reviewing those periodically, 6 monthly or annually, is probably sufficient. But actually, I think the most important bit about a strategy is getting expertise in and working with them to build the strategy for your business. So it's not so much how often, it's getting the right advice and the right strategy to put in place.
All right, because also strategy-wise, we had a small attack on one of our websites on the server, but they implemented a script into one of the folders. And the vulnerability scan ran before that, and after the file was uploaded to our server, the backup process started. So it basically got copied for our next backup. So yeah, it was very hard to find where it actually came and clearing that. So yeah. This is something, and we are not a huge company. We're a small company, but yeah, since we work online, these are the threats that we have on a daily basis. Yeah. All right, so yeah, we also did a workshop a couple of years ago because everybody, of course, talks about how to implement security measures, cybersecurity, but nobody talks about what can you do when an ongoing attack is happening. So what are the steps to take? So, but I'm also interested about secure file transfers, because this is often overlooked. And what are the biggest risks of unsecured file sharing, and why do companies continue to neglect it? Because they do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the people have got very used to being able to send files via email, and it's nice and simple. Everyone knows how to do it. It's convenient, but of course it only supports files up to, say, 25, 30 meg. Now the files are getting so much bigger, people are finding other ways of doing file transfer. And because there's not enough attention at a business level or a strategic level as to how should we be sending these files, people are just finding ways to do it. They're using traditional Dropbox WeTransfer type technologies to do that. And while they have a place, we see them as not a business tool. They're convenient for sending, files to your parents or whatever, if you've got something from the family holiday, but not as a business tool. And to my mind, the three things which are significant about it. The first one is you don't know where on the internet these files have been stored. You don't know who else has access to those files, and in some cases, it could be state actors who can review files which are stored in them. And the third, which I think is probably one of the most significant, is the files are often left there. And people upload a file, 3 months later they realise they've forgotten to delete it, and so it's there for anyone who may have access to it to be able to access it and review it and potentially get that information. Now, if your information is your holiday snaps, well, people probably don't care. But if it's business critical information, then that's huge, and that's an important step for businesses to ensure the way they transfer those files is secure and is appropriate.
All right. So, do you provide this type of service?
Absolutely, indeed. That was the reason we've got a tool that we call it Hipther Outlook, which and that's the three things we wanted to address. We wanted to ensure that you knew where the file was being stored. So if you're in, we're a New Zealand-based business, but we're also here in the UK. If you're in New Zealand, you can send via the New Zealand node. If you're in the UK, you can send via the UK node, so it doesn't leave the country. Only the person who you're sending the file to can get access to that file, and more importantly, the file gets deleted after a predetermined period of time. You can send it to as soon as it's downloaded, or after 7 days if you want them to be able to retrieve it a couple of times. And it all sits within Outlook, which is the cool thing. So you don't even have to leave your known, understood email environment. It's not sending an email, but it's in the Outlook client. And it's a nice and simple way of sending files of any size. And we believe it solves that business issue. It's been used by some New Zealand government agencies, so it's a government strength solution. And we think it does meet the need of businesses wanting to send files securely.
All right. So there are so many businesses out there using cloud storage and collaboration tools. So what are some of the common mistakes that they make when transferring these sensitive data?
I think that probably the most significant is that leaving files on the internet for longer than they need to be. And by far, that's the most critical, I think. If you're doing something which is collaborative, then the tools out there to do that, whether it's Google Docs or Drive, those sorts of technologies. They're great for collaborative. But again, once the collaboration is finished, these need to be removed. And so that's a key part of it. Yeah,
that's about it. Because this gives me a good idea. I usually, when I prepare for the podcast, I create a Google Doc, then I share it with the guest, and it's there. It's there for 4 years now, and it's piling up every week. So that's a good reminder that I need to like delete those that I don't need because they have been shared. So what are the best practices for ensuring these safe file transfers, especially for businesses that are handling confidential or maybe regulated information?
Yep. The most important bit is to make sure the data is online, as I say, for the minimum amount of time and with the minimum amount of people who can have access to it, and using industry strength encryption mechanisms for deploying them. We particularly like the idea that with our solution, if you send a file, the recipient gets the notification that the file is available. When they retrieve it, the sender gets a notification to say it's been retrieved, and then it can be deleted immediately, or it will automatically delete after a period of time. And so I think that way it's that the chain of custody for that information is ensured.
All right. So are there any specific industries where secure file transfers are especially critical, besides the government, of course?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's lots. I think we've talked to lawyers who have got sending conveyancing documents to people, things like that. So anybody who's got files which are sensitive in any way. I mean, with the newish GDPR laws, of course, anything which has got personal data in it, you can get some pretty serious fines if that's breached. So and most organisations are dealing with personal data. You can't avoid it. If you're providing a product or a service, you're likely to have someone's details, and being able to protect that appropriately is hugely important. So really, any industry which is sending files of any size really needs to be looking at the way they're doing that. And even while email is convenient, it's not a particularly secure way of transferring files. It's a bit like sending a postcard. It's fine if you don't mind the postman reading it, but it's not great if you've got secret information you want to send to someone. So finding a mechanism of doing that which is truly secure is really the only option, regardless of the environment or the organisation you are.
All right. So as a closing question, I'm interested about if a company wants to improve its file transfer security starting today, right after they hear this podcast. So what's the first step they should do?
First step? Oh, well, I would love to talk to them. Have our shift for Outlook. If you search it on the Microsoft Marketplace, it's available for Outlook. You can download it and retrieve it. Start using it immediately to send flash files to people. So that would be one option to resolve that. We have a real passion for working with people who want to secure themselves. So we'd love to hear from anybody. I'm not sure quite how it works as far as providing our information to you, to your listeners, but we're very keen to work with people to help them stay cyber safe.
Yeah, so basically you can just let them know where they can find you.
Yeah, we're at livertonsecurity.com, Liverton security.com. We're in the UK and we're in New Zealand. That's probably the best way to find us, and we'd love to talk to you.
All right. So, Richard, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for our audience for sticking around. And yeah, we hope you learned something, how to protect your data. And yeah, take care, everyone. We will be back next week. All right. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
And that's a wrap for this section of Hipther Talks. Thank you for being a part of our journey today. Don't forget to tune in next week for more insights and discussions. Stay connected with us on Spotify, YouTube, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, and more. Until then, keep exploring and keep growing. We'll see you next time.